Okay, what are we talking? We talking And Then You Pray For Me, the sequel to the 2020 Westside Gunn album, Pray for Paris. And I'm going to give my quick overview, my quick thoughts about this album. But I want to thank you for watching this vid first and foremost. First and foremost. So listen, I don't need you to look any further. Don't look no further because make sure you do two quick things. Like this vid, but most importantly, subscribe to the channel. I greatly appreciate it. Okay. And Then You Pray For Me, brand new West album. My thoughts on this album. First of all, I will say this album being a sequel, both of the album covers are extremely dope. That's one thing I love about the 2020 Pray for Paris album and this album, And Then You Pray For Me. The album covers are extremely dope. I love the artwork. Westside Gunn is doing a lot of different things on this album. So when you hear it, it's going to sound like Westside Gunn, of course, but it's going to have a different feel to it, beat wise, instrumentation wise, and just the production. The production, he's using a few new producers on this album, but not only that, he's kind of not literally like testing the waters, like putting a toe or two in the water to feel if the water is hot. He's jumping in the ocean, completely immersing himself in a trap sound. Now, listen, there are a couple, what you would call traditional hip hop tracks on this album, East Coast sound in New York, quote unquote boom bap tracks on this album, the traditional Griselda sound. And those few songs I think are cool. But for the most part, this is Westside Gunn does trap album. He has DJ Drama on the album, talking his talk. He has Rick Ross on the album, and he has Jeezy on the album. And so he's letting you know from the gate that this is going to be a totally different vibe, which is cool. Listen, I love my traditional sounding East Coast. I hate the word, when certain music gets labeled, whether it's trap or boom bap or whatever, but I love that New York boom bap sound, that Premier sound, that Griselda sound. Of course I do. And it's nothing wrong. First, let me just be clear by saying there's nothing wrong with an artist experimenting and doing different things. It's all about artists should be able to express themselves in the moment of how he's feeling and trying different things. So I don't necessarily have an issue with him trying trap and doing trap, as long as this doesn't become a trend here. You know what I'm saying? One album is cool to experiment with, see how it goes. But I'm not necessarily saying, I think it's cool to experiment, but I don't like it because Westside Gunn, I love Wes. Shout out to the West whole Griselda, but I just don't like him over trap. He doesn't sound good. He sounds good over the traditional Griselda sound. My two favorite songs on the album, and by the way, like I said, he worked with new producers on the album. RZA actually did a song on this album called House of Glory featuring Stove God. That song is alright. It's okay. And another thing before I go into, my favorite tracks on the album, which is only like two really, but the album overall I think is just merely okay. Stove God Cooks is featured heavily on this album. It's about time we get like a brand new Stove God Cooks project, a full length, like brand new Stove God Cooks album, because Stove God has literally been plastered all over the last two, off the top of my head, last 2 or 3 Westside Gunn albums. So now it's time for him to, do his thing and come out with a brand new joint. So Stove God is all over this album, but my two favorite songs on the album is Babylon Biss, featuring Stove God Cooks. And listen, I am on record by saying I'm not the biggest, haven't been up until this point, the biggest Stove God fan whatsoever. But Stove God literally had one of the best verses on this album on Babylon, track 14. The beat was very dope and Stove God killed it. I loved his verse. Like I said, one of the best verses on the album. And another one of my favorite tracks is track number 20, The Revenge of Flip's Leg. The Revenge of Flip's Leg, featuring my man Rome Streets, who also just dropped a very dope album a couple weeks ago. But other than that, like the rest of these tracks are mixed with trap and just subpar, Okay songs. The first track number 2, which is Mama's Prime Time, features Conway. Got the Griselda fam on there. That song is okay. It's aight. It's cool. It's okay. And track number 3, Costas. Featuring Benny, Conway, and then of course Wes. I just thought that song was just okay. So, I mean, this is a mix of a Wes experimenting with a trap sound and just okay songs. It's not one of my favorite Westside Gunn albums. It's really not. I would like to know what you think in the comment section. Hit me up, light up that comment section. Let me know what you think. Like I said, it's cool to experiment. I'm all for artists experimenting. I'm an artist. I love all different kind of music from years past, all different kind of genres. And any given day, any given moment, you can hear me listening to either Westside Gunn, Hus Kingpin, the Mussolini, my guy Mussolini, or you can hear me listening to Madonna, Prince, and Howard Jones. So I get it. But as long as this new trap sound that Westside Gunn is experimenting with doesn't become a new trend, I'm cool with it just for this album. But I really wish, since Pray for Paris to me was a classic album, it's literally like one of Westside Gunn's my favorite top 2, top 3 Westside Gunn albums. I wish this sequel would have been a better sequel to such a dope album, Pray for Paris. But anyway, let me know what you think in the comment section. Like I said, this is AP, E for One Podcast. Subscribe to this channel before I get out of here, and I will check y'all later. Peace.